As promised, today we are looking at a few clones of my favourite fragrance probably at the moment, and that is Louis Vuitton Imagination. Now, of course, this is a very expensive fragrance, and I don't often talk about clones on this channel, but I have found some recently that I really wanted to talk about because I know not everyone has and wants to spend so much money on a fragrance, which I fully understand. And sometimes we want a great fragrance that is also a little bit cheaper. So there's three options here that I would consider clones of Imagination. The first one you may already know about, but the second two you probably wouldn't have heard of. So the first one, Sunrise on the Red Sand Dunes by Zara. This for me is a no-brainer because of the price. I think it's about £20 for 100ml. And to me, it doesn't smell as high quality as Imagination, of course. You don't really get the zesty citrus and the cinnamon spice that you get with Imagination, and you don't get the kind of black tea note. Overall, it doesn't smell as good as Imagination, but that is expected. If it did smell as good and as high quality and lasted as long as Imagination, then of course we'd have a problem. So this one to me smells much more on the mandarin side in the opening, whereas Imagination has this kind of realistic, zesty citrus note. So think of a lot of different citruses mixed together in a bowl, but you're just smelling the zest. So like a grapefruit, orange and lemon zest all mixed together in a bowl. That's kind of what you get in the opening of Imagination. However, with the Zara, it smells more like the mandarin side. Have you ever tried a tangerine orange? That has a very distinctive smell, and it kind of smells like Sunrise on the Red Sand Dunes. The performance of this is not great. It's not going to last more than a couple of hours, at least it doesn't on me. But I tell you when this is a great fragrance to wear, and that is after the gym. If you go to the gym in the evening, at lunchtime or in the morning, whatever, you just have a shower and then spray this on, and it just gives you a really nice bit of like an invigorating boost, a little bit of energy. And because it's so cheap, you can take it in your gym bag, leave it in your car, and it doesn't really matter. I think this costs £20, and for me, I think for the smell and just the kind of enjoyment you get with it is a bargain. You can just buy this, spray it on all the time, and it really doesn't matter. This is the tangerine or mandarin orange, and then you have this kind of hint of sweetness and possibly a bit of spiciness, but hasn't got that really sharp spice that you get in Imagination. And in the base, it does have this kind of ambery sweetness, but it focuses, the main note to me is this kind of mandarin orange. This is fresh, invigorating, cheap, and enjoyable. So, a fragrance that you probably never heard of, because I had never heard of it until I went into Zara the other day, and that is Sunrise on the Red Sand Dunes Intense. Can't see anything online about it. I don't know how long it's been out, but I literally went clothes shopping the other day and I saw this by the checkout, and I was like, oh, that's the Sunrise on the Red Sand Dunes Intense version. I'm just going to buy it. They had no testers available, so I just bought it because I think it was slightly more expensive at £25 or something. So still really affordable, and I thought, what's the worst that can happen? So this smells very similar to the original that we just looked at, but it's a bit deeper. It has this sort of stronger sweet smell. So the sweetness you get in the original Sunrise is a little bit more amped up. It's not as fresh, not quite as invigorating and fresh do you get in the original, but has this kind of amber note. It's amber, it's sweet, but also you do get that kind of mandarin note, that tangerine or mandarin note, but it's not as strong as it is in the original Sunrise on the Red Sand Dunes. I mean, it kind of smells how I would expect an intense version of this to smell, if that makes sense. Taking away some of the freshness and going a bit more darker, a bit more sweet, a bit more ambery, similar to what a lot of designer fragrances do. Smells really nice, just smells, I guess, further away from Imagination. So out of the two, I would say the original Sunrise smells more like it, but they don't really smell exactly like it. They're supposed to be clones of it, but they smell more like their individual fragrance. If anything, they might be more similar to Afternoon Swim. But this one, £25, another one that's really cheap. I mean, if you look at fragrances in general, £25 is a really fair price. Again, buy this, you can blind buy this, and it's not really a problem. Put it in your gym bag, put it in your car. It's still going to last a while, and it's really good value for money. So let's look at this last clone that I only just got recently. Now, I have to be honest, I was sent this by the brand, so I didn't pay for this one. I bought the 2 Zaras with my own money, but this one was sent to me by the brand. But it doesn't have any reflection on how I feel about it. I never do anything like that on this channel. You'll never get me saying I love something when I don't, just because I got it for free. It's not what I'm about and not what I'm interested in. So this one was sent to me by ORIENTICA. Now, you might have heard of these because they do other clones as well. Let me just get a couple for you. So they do these other clones as well that I've got. This is Royal Blue, which is a clone of the original batch of Layton. It's actually really nice and a really good clone of Layton. I think it smells fantastic. And Amber Rouge, which I believe is the Baccarat Rouge Extrait version. Again, smells really good and smells very similar to Baccarat. These are very good clone fragrances. So this one, Azure Fantasy, beautiful bottle. I really enjoy the bottle. I think it looks much better than the other two I just showed you. And I don't know if this is supposed to be a clone of Imagination or Azure Lime by Tom Ford. Now, unfortunately, I never tried that one. I've never tried the Tom Ford, so it's hard to say which one it's cloning. But I have heard, and judging by the colour, I have heard that it's cloning Imagination. I mean, I could sort of see where they're going with that one. But anyway, let's get into telling you how this actually smells. This when I first spray it on, I did it earlier, but when I was preparing for this video, it reminds me of a drink, but I can't think what it is. It reminds me of that drink with tequila in, the lime margarita. It reminds me of a margarita straight off the opening. It really get that hint of lime, like a lime saltiness. Very bitter, tangy and sharp. So it reminds me of a margarita with the salt round the rim glass. That's what it reminds me of. I was thinking of that earlier. I was thinking it reminds me of being in a bar somewhere in Mexico. So this is much tangier and sharper with a lime note that you don't get in Imagination. And there is not much or any spiciness that you get in Imagination. One of the best things of Imagination is that mix of the zestiness, the zesty fruitiness, and then you've got the spices like ginger and cinnamon that contrast with each other and just smell fresh and almost warming, and it's beautiful. Really amazing combination. This one is strong lime, really bitter, really tangy, and almost has this fresh, like white floral, neroli or jasmine smell. That really clean white floral smell that you get in fragrances, that has this in it, and it just smells very clean, like almost like the clean linen sheets, that smell, that clean linen sheet smell that is in a lot of these fragrances, like, you know, YSL Myself, for example. Just that clean linen smell is in the base of this. And you have this sharp, tangy citrus. It's not tangerine, it's not orange, it's more lime. It's lime and it's sharp and it's really fresh, and it's actually a very nice smelling fragrance, but I don't know if it's supposed to be a clone of Imagination or Azure Lime. I need to try Azure Lime, which I will do as soon as possible. This is an extrait de parfum concentration, and it is very strong. I've worn it a couple of times on my arm, on my hand, and you get this oil sheen from your hand. So it does feel like it's a strong fragrance and a lot of oils in here. That's the kind of feel I get with this. And on my skin, it lasted a long time, and it didn't really develop that much. It stayed quite the same after the really sharp lime had dried off. It just stayed really fresh, really musky, and this kind of white floral sensation with the lime note a little bit more subdued, and that stayed the whole way through until it faded off. But this feels like high quality than a normal clone fragrance. It's going to last a lot longer. I mean, the longevity of this compared to the Zara one is completely different. This is going to last a lot longer than this. This one you're going to have to reapply in the day for sure. This one maybe not. Now let's talk about the issue with this. I don't know where to buy it from because I've searched online. It doesn't seem to be available on like discount websites like Notino and anything like that. The only place you can seem to buy it is on Orientica's website, and it's priced really highly. I think it's like about $200. I think I was looking online. I need to have a look again. Which doesn't make sense if you are marketing a clone fragrance. It wouldn't really make sense because for a little bit more, you can just buy Imagination, right? So I don't know what the price is exactly of this. If it is a clone fragrance, it needs to come right down. I mean, you look at sort of 60, 70, 80 pounds maybe for a really good clone. It is a good clone. It's strong. It smells like it's got natural ingredients in. It doesn't smell cheap or really synthetic, anything like that. It's really enjoyable. So these were 3 clones of Imagination that I've personally tried and that I could recommend to you. I think really the Zara fragrances are no-brainers. I think you should just buy one. Just order one on the website, £20, £25, I think you can't go wrong, and they're just great dumb reach fragrances to wear at any situation. And sometimes it's good to have a cheap fragrance that you can wear anywhere because you're not going to waste your expensive fragrances. And these both smell good and they are enjoyable. If you can try Orientica Azure Fantasy, I recommend you giving it a try because it is a different take of imagination, and that lime note, that tangy lime, is really enjoyable and it's very strong, especially for a fragrance in this category. Hope you enjoyed this video. See you soon.